Order Griggs County Commission at 2:30, June 5th. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, John.
Here.
Dale.
Here.
Mark is absent today. Sean.
Here.
Troy's here. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
It's been moved by Dale to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Review the minutes from the May 22nd meeting. That Gilbertson and Son things, where it said, and presented them with stipulations of the emergency road raise and what it would cost. It should cost us, not them.
Oh.
And I think it should say something about federal funding requirements for the emergency road raise, because we aren't using federal funds at this time. We haven't committed to that.
Okay.
But Wayne wanted to know if they could comply, just in case we decided to do the permanent road raise. If we can't get rid of that water.
Okay. How exactly would you like that to be worded?
I think I'd just say period.
Gilbertson's and Sons bids.
Period.
Period.
And
And requested a cost to comply with federal emergency regulations.
you know, did you get a cost from them?
No.
Oh, okay. No,
But we better state it in here, because we can't dictate to them what they have to do.
not after the fact.
Okay. Got it.
Read that back to me.
I'm going to go back on the recording.
So maybe it's, yeah, there was discussion on the project, motion by Wakefield to accept Tom Gilbertson's and Sons bid in period. Road Superintendent Oyen was directed to inquire of Gilbertson's the cost to comply with federal regulations, emergency regulations. Does that sound correct?
Pretty close.
Because we wanted to ask them what it was gonna cost if they were gonna comply so that the project could be converted to a federal project, right?
Right, yeah.
Right, you know, to meet the FEMA specifications for it.
Right. So that's what I meant to say.
Got it.
Is there anything else from the meeting, the May 22nd meeting minutes?
Move to approve the May 22nd meeting minutes with amendments, dispense with reading.
One more change. The last sentence in there, Owen reported on a few other roads that were having water problems. Probably just remove the word few.
Okay.
Remove the words a few.
Okay.
Owen reported on other roads that were having water problems.
Okay.
We don't want to trivialize the extent of it. Because there's a lot of them, although the water's going down.
Hasn't rained for a long time. Been moved by Dale to approve the May 22nd meeting minutes as amended and dispense with the readings. Or second to the motion? Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we'll take a look at the May 26th special meeting minutes.
Should we have the cost of them listed in the minutes?
You want that?
They were $300 a piece, right?
315, yeah.
$315.
Mhm.
I suppose we should have them in there.
Okay.
You send some back.
We're trying. We're getting a hold of Newman Signs and, yeah.
Did you guys see them? Brian cut some trim that matches the woodwork in the courthouse and fastened them to the outside of those windows, and they look nice. That trim looks nice on there. Looks nicer than it did before.
Mhm.
So I don't know if they'll just leave them up permanently now.
Otherwise, you can take one of the trim pieces off and then slide the whole glass out and put the trim back on. It looks really nice.
Are we having a tax equalization meeting today?
Yep. Open it.
Huh?
Open it and put it in recess. What we're considering the May 26th meeting minutes right now.
I don't know, I was just catching up on the last meeting minutes, and they said we're gonna have a tax equalization meeting at the next regular meeting. I thought that might be a mistake. But it wasn't.
Motion to approve the May 26th meeting minutes.
Been moved by Dale to approve the minutes from the special meeting on May 26th. Is there a second? Seconded by
What do you call them,
Sean.
sneeze guards?
That's what they're called, yeah. Maddie burst out laughing when we got the invoice too.
Is that seconded by you, Sean? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Move on to the bills.
We have two to be added on if we could. One for Arrowwood for $3,257.07. and one for the intercommunity telephone company for $150. If you see through the bills, we updated Dakota programs, so the reports are just going to look a little bit different. This is how you're going to see it. When we sent it to you last night, we didn't include the cities, townships, and schools ones, so now they're in here. And then on the back of it, you'll see that there's a lot more in the payroll ones. We had to void a check and then rewrite the check, and then we accidentally voided the wrong check, so we had to void the right check and then write it again. So that's what all those ones. So you'll see if the status is void or status paid, and that's what those are.
A retrain on the.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a mix up, so.
So Dakota Programs now was rewritten and it resides on the Windows platform.
Mm-hmm. So now we go on to the internet, like Internet Explorer or whatever, and it's in there now.
Internet Explorer.
Yeah, we click
So
on
you log into their server.
must.
So that's a software as a service. You go to a website and log in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're logging into. So we got rid of a server here. Should have. There should have been an old IBM server or something that this one ran on, and now it's running. I mean, now evidently we don't even have it running on our server, it's running on theirs.
Mm-hmm. I think the tax program is still on there.
Oh,
It's only the general
Oh.
ledger that's come through.
Oh, they're in process.
Yeah, yeah.
I see.
what's DNA and mobility?
That's
That's
Travis's.
Travis.
That's his new name. Would you like to look at that?
No,
Okay.
the DNA isn't as short for the DNA that I'm thinking about.
This report is easier to read.
Is it? You like this one better? It didn't have the balances at first, so I got them to write that in the program so that you guys get that, so.
When somebody gets an abatement, that's how many accounts you have to back
Yes, yes.
out. Wow.
Yep, those are stinkers.
That's pretty crazy.
Mhm.
But that must be all automated, isn't it?
Mm-mm. Nope, we have to input those.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
That seems strange.
Mm-hmm. Because then, well, they paid these taxes, so then we have to refund them that. If they haven't paid their taxes, then it's automated and we don't have to do anything.
How far can they go back? How many years?
I'm not sure on that.
Better not be very far. Is the general ledger easier to use now or not really?
We just started using it right after we closed books, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to be working in there, but It's just getting used to where the reports are and what they're called
But it
now.
must be easier to navigate.
Yeah,
You can use your mouse.
Mhm.
I mean, the old software, you probably couldn't use your mouse for a lot of stuff.
not a whole lot, no.
It's because when that software was written, the mouse was a little gray animal that crawled around next to the wall.
Mhm. And it was a smaller window on our computer. Now we can make it a big one, and it's nice to be able to look that way. I also like that I can see the reports before they're printed, so I know exactly what it's gonna look like before I even print it.
You couldn't even look at them.
Mm.
Wow. So it had a, because when you're looking at an old software package like that on a Windows machine, that piece of software between that old software and the new software is called a graphical user interface, and some of those are better than others. That one must not have been the greatest.
We could like print it to a report and then go and grab it, but now you can just basically say run and then it pulls it up and we get to look at it, so.
Sure. Any questions on the bills?
We pay the bills as presented with the addition of, is it two?
Intercommunity and Arrowwood. Been moved by Dale to pay the bills as presented with the inclusion of intercommunity telephone and Arrowwood Prairie Co-op. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John? Dale? Votes aye. Motion carried. Monthly office reports.
Approve the monthly office reports as presented.
I see the sheriff's vehicles. Now we got that new one. Are we gonna put that other pickup on bids or what's the plan?
He's planning to do that on Monday. He just got it all pulled apart or put it back together today, I think.
Okay,
Or
that
pulled
is-
apart, I think, today.
Okay, he got all the equipment out of it.
Yep.
Cause that's county property,
Mhm.
I would imagine.
Mhm.
But he's gonna do all the advertising, you're not gonna do that?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
But he's gonna have all the bids sent to me.
sure, okay. Cause we'll have to open those in 2 weeks or something.
I assume so.
But the sale of the proceeds go to the general fund, and not to the office.
Okay. A motion by Dale to approve the monthly office reports, is there a second?
I'd like to go to page 27 on the water board. Maybe someone can tell me all this works. So the bottom left-hand corner where it says previous checkbook balance 61,000 less expenses, plus income, plus water board income expenses, 209,232.69 current checkbook balance. And it says less KD1 and CT2 plus 2A, 52,000. If you go up to, I assume CD1 is cardiac drain 1. And I assume that CT2 and 2A are Cooper drain and Tyrol drain at 4,000 and 23,000. The total of those isn't 52,000, it's $67,000. And then if you add in the negative balances of the Silver Creek and the TVO4, we have a negative balance in the Griggs County Water Board funds rather than a positive 150,000.
Do you want Connie to come in?
And one other thing I want to call your attention to, we don't seem to be using the budget from this year. If you notice the budget balances for 2020 and aren't going down, and neither is 19, so the money must be coming out of the Silver Creek, and the TBO4 must be financing this, and it looks like it did it last year too. And that corresponds to their budget as Griggs County keeps track of it too, so. Just want to make everybody aware, because ultimately, we are responsible.
Some of those negative balances, though, are petitioners' money, aren't they? I think.
In the case of the petitioner's money being at risk, once it's voted on, it's no longer at risk. So in the case of the TBO4, it doesn't matter if it's petitioner's money. I don't know about the Silver Creek, whether that's petitioner's money or if it's been voted on or not. I don't know.
I don't either.
So,
I mean, if you wanted to get answers to all these questions, you'd have to ask somebody other than me.
no, I'm just making everybody aware that those balances for those TBO4 and Silver Creek keep growing. So there's ongoing work that's being charged to it, and I think what's being charged to it is the everyday operation of the water board, because the water board budget is not decreasing even though there's checks being written. I think they're being written against those other projects.
I'll ask Tom.
Yeah.
The TBO4 had issues, so they had to revote it. The votes aren't getting counted on Monday, I think.
Yeah, the previous water board didn't comply with all the statutory requirements. Thus, they could, when came time to get it bonded, no bonding attorney would look at it and say, yes, this is without reproach and we recommend going forward, because there was always a chance for a lawsuit. So in order to redo it, they revoted it. I don't know if you were in on that, Jamie, or not.
I just learned about it right now.
Okay. So that's where you see the bill here for Vogel Law Firm for $5,100.67. So $51,6750. That was the legal firm that was taking care of setting it up back up to get everything in place to have it revoted.
So the process was followed correctly.
Do you guys know what wasn't followed the first time?
Yes.
There was notifications, and then there was a certification, or is that what they called it?
Yeah, I won't get it right. But anyway, it involved their previous legal counsel not doing what they were supposed to do.
They didn't follow the legal process has
The statutory process to do it.
right, and they just didn't do half of the steps.
That doesn't surprise me from that legal counsel that they had.
Why does anybody hire him?
It's cheap.
Half of the water boards in the state use them.
Township Association uses them.
Don't know.
And if some of the processes were followed, they didn't have any documentation to prove it.
Yeah, they didn't have meeting minutes from some of the meetings that, you know, they were taking action on this thing and they didn't have any meeting minutes. Unless the previous water board ate them when they left, I don't know. I mean, we just,
I was at most of those meetings. It was like 2014 around election time, so I went to most of those meetings, and I wasn't familiar with the process. But man, when they had meetings and had action, there was someone there recording minutes. I can't believe that they wouldn't do that. But
anyway. I think Tom and Connie have read every piece of paper in those files.
She went through a lot of newspapers.
Yeah,
Well-
looking for notices in the old newspapers and couldn't find them. If they're not there, they're not there.
no, they're not. They would. I mean,
Because
they
the
would be in the
newspaper
paper.
certifies them,
Right.
so, anyway. Okay. Anything else on the monthly reports?
You have a motion on the table.
Oh, I do?
Peterson approved the monthly office reports.
Is there a second?
Made the original motion.
You.
Second.
Second by Sean, is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Wayne?
Do we have anybody buying a bridge this year?
I do. I got one bid for you.
For one, well, for one bridge or two?
Two. If you can read that, it's pretty small.
Eric Nishheim, Norseman Field Service. $1. Remove bridge and have site no worse than current and make an effort to remove any sharp, pointy, or other dangerous issues. I will need access permission to prep the access of each bridge, wheel nuts, etc., wheel ruts, etc. Mid to late winter, so his crane can run on the frost. Must be a heavy outfit.
In the ad, it said October 15th, but is it $1 each or $1.56?
one for each. I think he said depending on if it gets real wet, he wanted us to be willing to extend it till the ground was froze. I mean, if it stays dry, he'll get it done.
I know that he was concerned about the road going into the dam. It's kind of rutted up and stuff, I think, or whatever. Doesn't get maintained, I don't think, or anything.
No, the fishermen wreck it,
Yeah,
because they gotta go in there when it's muddy, you know.
it's when the fish are fighting. Yeah.
You know, there's an old adage, if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you. I never thought we'd get to do it.
Well, there's gonna be some grumpy fishermen when we take that bridge out of there, but
So Jamie, what else, are we at risk by leaving them there? Is it a benefit to have them out of there?
I guess it'd be my position that if someone gets hurt on it, even if it's closed, someone gets hurt on it, we still could potentially be liable for it.
And were they cleaning up, what was his proposal?
$1 for each of the 2 abandoned county bridges.
And was it to clean up, did we specify cleaning up the site, or how did we have that?
I think when he
He
lifts
said
it
he
off
would-
there, he isn't gonna leave anything like sharp projections, you know. But it doesn't say he's gonna take the abutments out. Once a bridge is gone, maybe that wouldn't be such a big deal, I don't know.
Would you like to see it?
I don't know, what's the standard, do they take the abutments out or?
I don't know.
You still see some abutments sitting here and there along the roads, you know, where the road used to go or whatever, there's abutments are still there, bridges.
On Nody guards, they're still there.
Yeah.
A lot of places where they moved the location, they
Yeah,
left
they
the old
moved
one.
it.
Problem is, when you take these things out, if you take the abutments out, you just gave everybody downstream more water faster.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there needs to be a little consideration on that kind of a thing too.
I don't think there'd be any need to take the abutments out, would there?
I don't think so, not unless they're dangerous.
I think it'd be better to take them, leave them there, make sure there's no roadway that goes up
To 'em.
to it.
Right.
Are they township roads on both of those?
Yeah.
So do we have the ability to sell the bridge? Is it a township bridge?
Counties won't all
The
bridges.
county belongs,
All bridges.
bridge belongs to the.
Well, I guess we found out what an abandoned bridge is worth.
Well, I guess, I mean, you could give him the chance to do it, and if he doesn't do it, it just goes back to the county again.
Yeah, but not the first time.
No.
I move we accept the bids to purchase bridges from the county inventory.
Do you wanna make a solid deadline though, so this doesn't go on? I think there needs to be a solid deadline in there, so this doesn't go on.
Well, it's October 30th is the deadline.
15th, I think it's.
15th.
So do we give him the bridges now then? Do we have to give him a piece of paper so this is his bridge pending?
I think we should do that. I also think we should have him sign a hold harmless agreement, so the
That's what I'm
county,
getting-
I
that's
think
what I'm
so,
getting at.
so,
Is we don't want them taking down the bridge when the county still owns it for fear of liability issues.
Right.
It needs to be his bridge. Right?
I would agree with that. Yeah, because once the work starts and if you're in a situation where someone can crawl out someplace and be hurt, then we're in a bad situation again.
So then how are we gonna handle it if we give them the bridge? How are we gonna keep a deadline in place?
Go out there on the 15th and see if it's there.
you write a bill of sale with a stipulation to that effect.
Right.
It's just like a contract for deed. And,
That's part of, I mean, that's part of the purchase agreement that he's gonna have it out there by the 15th.
so Jamie will have to find one or make
Yeah.
one or something, and then in that, hold the county harmless on liability
You know,
during the removal process.
But a contract for deed the transfer of ownership doesn't happen until
Final payment.
the final payment. With this, we want the transfer of ownership to happen up front.
No, I know, but it's the same process.
Is it?
Well, I mean, you just write in there that if the bridges aren't removed by the October 15th, the ownership of the bridge reverts back to the county unless otherwise decided by the commission.
And who was it?
Eric Neschheim?
I think they, isn't our Neshheim? No, it's Borsheim Green Service.
No, Doc Nisham owns that land out there. He was, and then Eric must be my age, but I think there's an Eric Junior also. Yeah. So he was a dentist here in Cooperstown years ago. Then he moved to Northwood, didn't he?
He moved to his uncle's farm up north of Northwood.
That was Eric, not Doc.
No,
Yeah.
but what do they call him?
Mayville, wasn't it? Did he move?
Hmm?
Did he move to Mayville or did he move to?
Northwood.
No, he lived 3 miles north of that John Deere dealership by Northwood.
Right.
Okay.
That's his wife's family's farm.
But I talked to him one time and he said when he was moving to Northwood, he thought he was moving to the Garden of Eden, but that land up there is kind of
Tough, yeah.
tough stuff.
So he must be in the construction business, huh?
No, this isn't the same guy.
Oh,
What was his name? His name wasn't Eric. Ed. His name was Ed.
and
He's your age guy.
Eric must be.
No, he's an agronomist in Jamestown. He works for a fertilizer or chemical company in Jamestown.
Eric must be his brother.
I don't know.
But this guy's in the construction business? Must be. He has a
What
crane.
was the name of it? It was something.
And Norseman Field Service?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So need the motion amended. Well, we haven't got a second on it yet, I guess.
We just have a motion on the table to sell the bridges,
To accept the bid.
to accept the bid.
But there was no second to it.
Right.
So what do we need an amendment for?
We need to sell them the bridges with the proposed legal documentation.
Should we just look the first one by?
Either that or amended.
Well, just, so it hasn't got a second, you'll just kill it.
Is there a second to the motion? Second to the motion? Second to the motion? Motion dies for lack of second. Somebody else want to take a stab at it?
You not gonna do it?
No.
Oh.
I'll move we accept the bid for the $1 for the bridges with the proper documentation to follow.
Been moved by Sean to accept the bid of $1 per bridge for the 2 bridges we had for sale, along with some proper documentation to protect the county from liability and to enforce the deadline of October 15th. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All, John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Sean? Aye. Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
If it's a wet fall, do you guys wanna come back and revisit it, whether you?
He'll have to let us know. Maybe it'll be gone by the 1st of August, you know. He must think he wants them. If he does, he's gonna come get them, I imagine.
Guess I could report on the County Road 8 progress. I think they were gonna finish today. with it. It's all set to print a nice picture in my printer when it works. So. But they got it gravelled across the west section, and they were working on the east one yesterday. I think they're doing the final blading today. Yesterday. Mr. Gilbertson was wondering if we would assist him in paying for the historical deal that they had to have somebody come out and look at the site.
We would have to done that anyway, wouldn't we? No matter who did it.
Not if you don't use federal money. That's just to keep us in compliance if we wanted to convert it. I don't do a geological survey when I dig a post hole.
No, but I think.
Depends on whose money you use.
I think because it was used on a federal road, I think we probably had to do that.
I
Anyway,
think-
he did it.
Oh,
and
because
we're still gonna,
federal funding was used in the past, you mean?
yeah.
Yeah, it's not a federal aid road.
I think we should pay that.
What is it? Couple thousand?
2,500, I think.
Yeah, have them submit a bill.
And they have been trying to comply with that list of things that federal highway requires.
I didn't know how big a deal it was for them
Yeah.
if you're gonna have certified wages and stuff like that.
That's-
Maybe they do it anyway. Maybe they've done it.
If you do,
I don't know.
I think some of the Davis-Bacon wages were higher than what they normally pay, but it's up to you guys if they want to still continue that process. Right now, the east section of the road is pretty wide, and we could raise that up 2 feet with no problems going outside of the regular framework of the road if we had to in the future, if it starts coming up. Decision you'd have to make is if we're gonna go ahead and try to do the permanent grade raise, which if we're not gonna go ahead with to try to comply with the temporary or the emergency grade raise to do the permanent grade raise, then he doesn't have to go through all those lists.
Right.
Just end it, yeah.
It's gonna be a while before we know that.
Yeah, if there was a deadline to send in for reimbursement, and I can't remember what it was, 180 days, I think, from the time it was filed.
I would recommend to still follow it in case, you know, it might cost a little bit more money on the front end, but might save the county money on the back end to do it.
Not if we can find an outlet.
Well, that's pretty fuzzy math. We just paid $160,000 to get it done. And we accept the money to pay the 160 and potentially expose us to having to pay 600,000.
Depends upon what the, what the bid comes out to be for the permanent grade raise. I think when Paul put that estimate together, we talked about it before, he put it high enough so we're assured we're gonna get enough money funding to complete the project if we so choose to do it. Because when the state sets these emergency relief projects up, they have to try to acquire so much funding and have that set up so when these different counties go ahead with the permanent grade raise or whatever, they have it available.
Then he should do a separate estimate for us because what he did doesn't have any value.
So with a permanent grade raise, would it raise the whole road or just where we raise it now?
I think it would raise the whole road.
Right. 'Cause I mean, what else could there be done other than pave what we just did now?
Right to Foster County.
Yeah, it would pave it.
They'd raise it to Foster County and then
Yep.
Yeah, we need to work with Foster County and get that water moving. That's the permanent answer, I think.
It's moving now. It's went down 8 inches in the last week and a half.
Really?
she found a way out.
I think the frost came out,
Oh,
I think. I mean, it was, by the time we started filling in the east road, you could drive a pickup down the middle of it without getting wet. And before it was, what, that deep on the center line? Yeah. So it gone down an easy 8 inches in a week.
Why do we do anything
We're already in gear. We'd already done the west one. I started on it.
West one was still been underwater.
then? Not very much if it's gone down 8 inches.
It may be moot if it's gonna be a long, dry summer.
Could be.
but if that level stays up, who knows what kind of winter you have, and you're right back in the same
Right.
boat again, so.
Right. But, you know,
See that, we raised just part of that east section.
yes,
And east of that, it's only that far.
yeah.
When the waves are splashing, they're coming over a couple spots, there needs some more rocks.
What happened where you cut the road out by the Paws Evers is,
Fixed it.
Looks good over there.
It's, water's still running through, coming from Sibley. Going through the east and west road there by that, east of the County Road 5. It's going through there and follows around and it comes back through the west one, that's a half-mile west, the culvert we put in. And I believe might make it to the creek, because the water's disappeared from the north
Right.
side.
Yeah, there's a lot of places where the water just went away. It just, I think the frost came off. The frost was real deep, I think, because of all that moisture last fall.
Yeah.
A lot of things have changed in the last week.
so you got that culvert installed and the road's fixed then?
We got both culverts installed there, yep. The second culvert wasn't as bad because there was water on both sides, so it was kind of equal pressure. So it ran through there faster, of course, but we had more material there, more guys there and equipment, so.
Okay.
No, I think it's going down.
I believe it has.
I think, on the road across Sibley, I think that's gone down a little bit,
Yeah,
whether it's evaporation or if the frost
whatever. Yeah.
allowed some more moisture to go down,
But,
but it's soft, it's really soft.
but this grade raise that we did, I mean, that's as hard, you could drive anything across there. And it's as wide as the road was before. They did a real good job. I mean, if you put some recycled material or something on it and a speed limit, because it's right in the correction curves anyway, you're not gonna be going 60 miles or shouldn't be an hour.
It's kind of a poor picture, but that's the west section.
So it's gonna be open again today?
They
Probably
were gonna
opened
put the
up
road closed signs
next
on
week
it
or
over the
something.
weekend, because Wayne doesn't have the signs for it yet.
I'll show you the city.
You need signs to change it from pavement to gravel. And then, I think, Wayne was looking at 35 miles an hour to correspond with the speed limits through the curves.
Pictures are too small.
Okay. Anything else, Wayne?
That looks good.
I don't think so. Can't see it, but there's rocks this high on both sides going down. There.
Should protect it.
Should. I don't think there's anything else.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Tax equalization.
Connie's getting you guys quite a bit of stuff. She's waiting on a few cities and townships. But as I was talking to her yesterday, I realized that I forgot to put in the tax equalization ad in the paper. So that is going in next week and will run for 2 weeks. So then you guys can open up your meeting again on the 19th. And she
So
thinks that
we-
that's going to give her enough time to get some more information as well.
Right, but by statute, it has to be today, correct?
Right, we gotta start it.
And in order to do that, it's a separate meeting. Was that noticed? It's not within this meeting, it is a separate meeting, so we have to adjourn this meeting and open the tax equalization meeting.
So we need a motion for recess.
Yeah. So moved.
Been moved by John that we recess our regular commissioners meeting. Is there a second? Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Motion carries. Meeting is in recess. Call a tax equalization meeting to order. Take roll call. John,
Here.
Dale,
Here.
Sean,
Here.
Troy's here, Mark is absent. Is there any approval, any additions or corrections to the agenda? Due to the fact that not all townships and cities have turned in their equalization information, I would entertain a motion to recess.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Sean, seconded by John to recess the tax equalization meeting until June 19th. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. You don't
County
need to vote
commission
on
meeting, huh?
it. Call the county commission meeting back to order.
Yeah.
I do have Derek Hansen on the web if you guys like him to talk.
What about?
Did you guys read Derek's information? I don't know who makes what laws, what compliance and non-compliance means for Griggs County. I'm not wise to such things, but I am definitely of the opinion that doing what we're doing 53 times in North Dakota for a bunch of little counties that have 2,000 people in them is a complete waste of time and effort.
So Jamie, what is our obligation for a DES director? I assumed that before that our obligation was we had to have one because we accepted state and federal money. In essence, we didn't have one because Bob forgot to do it. And so we were in violation for many years. Nothing happened to us. What are our obligations here?
Ooh, let me little quick research.
Yeah.
I'll find out.
Yeah. You know, before when we were in violation, the threat was, we're just gonna take away your funding.
Okay.
Have we used any funding?
Well, now the majority of our funding goes towards the
Paying-
director.
yeah.
What we've whether it was Bob or Derek, they've always lived within the amount of money that we get to fund the position. And now he's saying they're increasing the requirements, so it's gonna take more time and there's no way that he can do that. And I just don't know why we care. I'm having a real problem.
What did we budget for DES before,
$7,500.
And the state matched it?
Yes, that's
Or
correct.
did they pay half of it?
No,
I think
that
we-
was our half.
So that we were spending 15,000.
Right, yep,
Okay.
that's correct. If memory serves,
Yeah,
that's right.
I kind of remember that.
And what are we budgeting now?
Tom will tell us.
I will.
So if we budget 10,000, the state will match 10,000? There's gotta be some
There's some
limit
schedule that,
or,
you know, I don't know, but I just think wasting money for the sake of wasting money is wasting money. And I know whose pocket the state gets their money from. They don't grow it on trees out in Bismarck, I don't think. They pilfer it from the taxpayers to get it.
where the tree.
Exactly.
Under 37-1707, I mean, it's just some quick research. Each county shall maintain an emergency management organization that serves the entire county or must be a member of a regional emergency management organization that serves more than one county.
Right now you guys budget $15,572.57.
And there's how much revenue budgeted from the state. So it's still the same amount of money.
It is. Is that what we spend also? For the DES director?
What we have for revenue for them is the $15,572.57.
From what source?
And just DES is what I have in here. Would you like me to look up who we've gotten stuff from?
Well, yeah, is it local tax dollars or a portion of local tax dollars plus reimbursement from the state?
I thought it was half and half.
I think it would be half and half, because then that would be in the levy for the general fund, and then we get that in revenue.
We would levy the full amount and be reimbursed half?
No. 15,000.
See, when we started searching before, remember, we were always under the assumption that North Dakota DES was paying half, but $7,500, and then as I started looking into it, there had been no payments
Oh, because
because we hadn't been supplying the required information.
That's right.
Right. And then remember, we tried to supply the documentation and go back and get, and we never got the money. And so as it turned out, from 2014 from 2011 until whenever Bob left, we never did get paid for it. We were just using our own county dollars and not being reimbursed for any of it.
Mm-hmm. No, that would be in 2018. We actually got $7,393.91.
Okay, so that was when it started again. Yep, and that would correspond with Derek taking over.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we got back.
Yeah, because there were some
raises.
issues, she had some trouble clearing up some of the non-compliances
Right.
to start with, if I remember
Yep.
right.
Yep. So when we paid Derek, we paid that organization how much now?
15?
What we have budgeted is $15,572.57.
Well, so what was the increase they were calling for then?
Apparently, it's gonna require more time in the future.
Not that one.
apparently.
This one, Nexus.
No, not that one.
No, that one.
Those ones are sales ratio.
Yeah, that's right. So, oh, no, yeah, okay, so he never did give us a number of how much more it was gonna cost?
No.
No, that's what, yeah, okay. Yeah, so he was wanting us to, this is for budgeting purposes, but he never gave us a number to budget.
I'll call him.
He's on.
Oh,
He's on here. Derek, can you hear us?
I sure can. Do you want me to address that a little bit?
sure.
So it's kind of a complicated process. There's a number of things that I highlighted in that memo that are coming forward that are going to need to be done as you started to talk about if you wanted to take advantage of future grant funding, that kind of thing. Now, the funding that you were receiving in the past, whether it was through Bob or after we had come or whatever, that was matching, that certainly helped the position and helped you as a county. But there's a lot more opportunity for funding out there. I know counties that are getting 40,000, 100,000 or more, small counties, just by applying for different grants and things that they can implement. And you would have the opportunity for that too. One of the problems we have is on all of the increased workload that they're handing out to the county EMs, we would not have the time to even write those grants, let alone manage them and implement them. And so that's part of the problem, is that right now we're really only funded for you at about 5 to 8 hours a week total. And there's only, to my knowledge, there's only one county in the state who funds at a lower rate than that. And so with all of the potential of grant money that you could get, as well as the required IRAs and things that they want, the threat level assessments and stuff, they could actually, you know, as you guys mentioned, they could hold grant funds and you would not be eligible for them. Now, beyond, so there's the potential of a lot more than 7,000 or whatever. Like I said, I work with one county not too far from you that wrote a grant and got $200,000-300,000 out of that grant for emergency management, various kinds of programs. So there's lots of potential there. There's lots of stuff available. You have to have the time for it, which we just don't. So that's one component of it.
Can I ask a question, Derek? John Wakefield.
Sure.
So these potential grants that we're could receive, can you pinpoint something that is needed in Griggs County that would benefit the citizens of Griggs County as a result of one of these grants? What services aren't we providing that we should be providing?
Sure, that's a good question. And it's not always services. It may be services, it may be training, it may be equipment. And so there's a variety of grants, and they change every year. The focus on them might go 1 year from active shooter training and equipment, and you might be able to get equipment for your police, law enforcement departments and stuff. Then the next year they shift gears and they find a hazardous materials as it's going to be their more important topic. So it's not like we can just sit on one and focus on one. We have to take advantage of whatever comes out. Sometimes we can get radios purchased off those grants like we have in the past. Your counties received numerous radios off of those grants. We could do training for fire departments and first responders, law enforcement. We've had computers for their cars that have been able to be purchased with them before. And so there's a variety of those kinds of things. I'm not so sure that it is that you can just pinpoint and say services provided to the citizen. It would be an enhancement of those services. Right now, you may not have, I'm just shooting off the cuff because we've done one exercise, a little training. That's the active shooter. There's been very little training and drilling and exercise on someone who does, a shooting within the county, a mass, not just a one-person thing. And there's lots of dollars and things for that. There's the school can benefit, the hospital can benefit. Sometimes the hospital will write their own, though. They have an opportunity to go beyond the county and write some of their own grants as well. So I wish I could pinpoint it down to one thing. A lot of times it's training or it's equipment, that type of thing. It's not always an added new service because they're not coming in saying you have to add new people or you have to add this new service. We're not seeing that come up. It's pretty much an enhancement to a lot of what's already taking place. And keep in mind, I'm on your side. We enjoy working with your people and everyone in the county, but I'm not the regulatory guy. I'm just here to to share the message. And, you know, whether we're helping you or you have some other plan you want to follow through it, entirely up to you. I just wanted you to know that if you had the opportunity to increase, whether it was us or somebody else doing it, that if the hours were more, we could actually see an increase probably in grant funding. Now, beyond the grant funding, it's the reimbursement for actual disasters as well. Right now, for us to even try to help with some of the spring flooding and snow emergency that occurred there, the FEMA reimbursement piece that, you know, we just didn't have the extra hours. We tried and we worked with the township and tried to gather information, but we're limited in what we can do. The same thing would happen if a tornado came through. If you don't comply with these kinds of things, and for example, your hazard mitigation plan is not up to date, then you would not be eligible for reimbursement of some of these disasters that occur, or a mitigation project or whatever. So it's kind of a much bigger picture than just saying services to provide, because it kind of more complicated and goes well beyond that.
So what is the cost now to the county? What do we pay your company to provide the services you're providing?
I don't have those in front of me right now. I'm actually working from my home office right now, and so I don't have that. I don't know if Samantha does. I think it's like $8 something a month. Is that correct, Samantha?
Let me look in here really quick.
And if that is the correct amount, when we divide the hours out and what we need to be able to even break even, that gives you, depending on how many days there are in the month and what's worked, and assuming there's no call-ins for disaster stuff or anything, or cold snap or anything, then you know, that comes out to between 5 and 8 hours a week at the most. Well, a lot of times there are weeks, there are business, there are tier 2 sites coming in, and then you get, you know, a bridge out, or you get some other COVID thing or something else, and all of a sudden we don't have the hours. So we feel guilty not being able to do the work for you, but at the same time, you know, from my standpoint, I can't run a business where I'm donating time. So that's why I wanted to give you the opportunity. You know, you can either take it on yourself, hire somebody else. We're more than willing to continue to work for you. My message is, even though we enjoy working with you guys, you can't work at this level because there isn't enough hours, and then our reputation's on the line. Now I've got people at the state and other levels that are looking, saying, how can you retire? How come this isn't done? How come that? They don't realize that our hours per week are limited. And so we can only do what we have hours for. So that's the problem. So I wanted to bring it to your attention. If you're interested in increasing, because there's so many pieces and components, it's not like I can come in with a magic number today. I would need to work with someone. I need to find out, do you want to potentially fund all these programs? Some of them would only be funded for maybe 6 months or a year, and next year's budget, like the FIRA, for example, after a year or two of working through that, you wouldn't have to fund that project anymore. So unless they threw something else in place, some of those dollars and hours could be backed off or whatever if there was no other requirements to meet. So it's not an easy task, and
So-
it wasn't my intention today was not to come in with a presentation and dollar amount. I just wanted to see where you want to go with this, because it would take a lot of time and hours to develop some kind of a proposal for you, and I don't want to go in that direction if that's not what you're interested in me doing.
Okay, so Derek, John Wakefield again. So you understand that our sole function is to handle approve and disapprove dollars for the citizens of Griggs County. So you come to us and you tell us that you're not making any money the way you're doing it right now, but you can't tell us how much money you're making. And then you want to make more money, but you're not telling us how much more you need in order to give us the services that you haven't offered to us yet. How are we supposed to make a decision going forward unless we're faced with a dollar figure that you're earning now and a dollar figure that you hope to earn and a breakdown of the services you're going to provide for that dollar figure?
Number one, I already told you we're not making any money. I'm going in the hole with your county. Number two, I need to work with someone to determine which projects you want to move forward on. Is it everything? Because then it's going to turn out being a 30, 35 hour a week position. Or do you want to limit it to certain things? And again, I'm not the regulatory guy and I'm not going to deal with the state. And so Jamie might need to get involved. You know, how far do you want to go with that? Once I know what you want to do, I'm not coming and complaining to you today that we're not making any money. I am just telling you that we are losing money on it. So I need to know, do you want us to work with you and come up with a proposal? Or is this a position that you're just thinking you're going to do something else with? Because I don't want to put the extra time into it if you're not serious about moving forward with it.
Derek, this is Jamie, and I haven't researched this because I didn't know that this was going to come up exactly. What you work as an emergency manager for other counties. What is the county required to provide? I know that there's a multi-hazard mitigation plan that we're required to do. How long has that been since that's updated, and what are the requirements for that?
You're correct. So that's one of the many pieces. So the HMP, or the Hazard Mitigation Plan, you do have one in place. It is required to be renewed every 5 years. Yours is due in 2020. I don't remember the month. It's coming up this next year. Again, there's a grant that can be written for that, so that we can, and most of the time the counties are funded. I have not seen a county in a long time that if they pull their information together properly, that would not be funded for it. And so you could probably get that whole thing paid for, but that one's coming up, so you're correct. Another one, for example, is the LEOP, which is the Local Emergency Operations Plan. And that one you have to have in place, and that one has to be renewed again every 3 to 5 years. County's choice on that. There is funding for that available as well. If you have a hazardous material component in the LEOP, then you don't need to have a separate hazardous material response plan. If you don't in that, then you may need to have a separate plan for that. So it's kind of broke down into pieces, and I think, Jamie, you're on the right track. It's just that I don't think you're going to resolve all the components of it today in one meeting. That's why I'm thinking I need somebody that could, if you wanted to move forward on, I need someone that can work with me to say, this is what we want, or cut that out, those kinds of things. I don't want to make those decisions for you, because then if the state doesn't like them, I don't want to get caught in the middle. I want the county to make those decisions.
So, Derek, why don't you come up with a list of things that are required by the state to fulfill the position? I think that would be appropriate, and come up with a dollar amount that it's going to cost and any reimbursements available, because there's things that are statutorily required, and I didn't research it. I didn't know that was going to be part of today's meeting. But if there's things that the county is required to provide for the citizens for emergency management, I mean, I would say that the commissioners want to get that done and taken care of and be in compliance, but we don't know what that is.
And if that's what the commission would like, I can pull programs together, list them, and put dollar amounts to them. And that would basically even apply even if you didn't use this. If you were going to hire someone, the hours would still be probably the same. It just depends on how much you're paying them to do it. So that is something you can do. I mean, it's not something I can do in a day or two, because it is going to take quite a bit of work. I also don't want to be the one to say, this is what you have to do. Everything that I'm going to send to you would be in a suggested format, because I need you guys in the state to make that final determination of what has to be put in place and what doesn't, because I don't want to be the rules guy in making those decisions, because there are some that you can leave out that you might leave out, but then you wouldn't be eligible for certain grants. So I just kind of need to know where to go with that. But yes, to answer your question, we could pull a list together. We could pull some dollars. It would be a start anyway to go in that direction.
So this is John again. So can the list be broke down to the point where this is mandatory by statute? You're saying that there are some mandatory issues. They must be written somewhere. You're not going to second guess the state by telling us what those mandatory requirements are. Then
Well, those people.
can you give
all
us
those
a
people in
list
Denmark,
of
so
optional services and a cost for those? I assume that right now we're not in violation, so I assume right now that we are complying, you are complying for us with all the mandatory regulations.
Yep.
Am I correct in that?
No, I guess I would have to correct you on that. We are meeting all of the basic needs that they require from the standpoint of having someone available, an EM24 available to you 24/7, which does not have to live in the county, but we do have to be available. So our phone, the phone number there is programmed to us. We meet that requirement. We're taking the tier 2 paperwork in and filing that. We're doing phone calls, emails, we're doing all the basic stuff to say, yes, we have an EM there. Now we're getting to the point where the fire up plan, which is broken into several parts, which takes several years to do, is going to be due in the future. We don't have adequate funding or hours. So we have not put time into the fire because there's nothing there. There's no time for us to put into it. So you're not deficient right now, but it won't be that many months down the road that if we don't get something going for the thyra, for example, then you'd be considered deficient there, unless you're just going to tell the state we don't want. And I don't know because I don't know what the rules are. If you say we don't want to comply with that, that's not my role. I have no idea if they're going to come in and say, but you have to, you have no choice, or if they're going to say, okay, take it off your list, then you're not going to get this kind of funding. Or I don't know what their response is because I don't keep up on those requirements.
So I guess we're not getting anywhere. I was under the assumption that we hired your company to put us in compliance with the rules and regulations, the basic rules and regulations for the DES. Evidently, we didn't do that.
You did that in the beginning. That was way back when we negotiated in 2017 or whatever. All of these new components I'm talking about now were not in place back then. What I'm saying is there's new requirements and things that we would have to move forward with that we did not negotiate back then, because I would have never been able to come in with this hour amount. Our contract has actually expired the end of 2018 December. Well, since then, we have been working on a gentleman's agreement just because we enjoy working with you. We don't want to abandon you, but there is no dollars or anything to keep you compliant with all of those future things that are going to be coming due here.
Are they mandatory requirements?
Some of them are, some of them are not. For
Okay,
example,
now we're getting somewhere, all right? Now, which ones are mandatory?
Well, there's a whole list. I mean,
I'm done, Derek.
let me give you an example. Hazard mitigation plan. If you choose not to do that, not put it in place, you wouldn't receive certain funding, certain grants, certain reimbursement when disasters occur, whatever. I don't know how the state handles that. So I'm assuming it's not mandatory, but I don't know of a county who is refusing to do it. They're all doing it at this point.
Well, I don't
the
think
list is extensive. It's not.
I don't
like
think the
there's
county's
five-
refusing to do it. We're just looking. The commissioner just looking for information on what needs to be done, and what we need to be in compliant with what the state's looking for. I don't think that there's a
Okay.
refusal to want to do anything. I think they want to
So
do it.
what I can do, if you want me to, is I will contact my person at the state Homeland Security office and say, what are the requirements for the county? And then when they send me that in writing, I can go ahead and those pieces that are mandatory, I can give you hours and dollars and connect to it. And those areas that are optional, I can still provide you hours and dollars. It will just be your choice at that point.
Perfect. That'll give us something to look at anyway, Derek.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
See that little nest of grant writers in Jamestown did this hazard mitigation plan last year.
Yeah, the South Central
Regional Council.
I and Bob went to
Yep.
those meetings.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's that hard to get that grant and get that reimbursement. I emailed Joe Wiesner on when we were talking.
But what happens if we don't have a hazard mitigation plan?
I think we lose out on FEMA money.
Yeah, you don't get your FEMA reimbursements.
That's what we have to have that for.
But we
It's-
had to write the plan originally, now we just have to redo
just
Now
it.
we
has
just
to
need
have
to
to be updated, right.
tweak it to
I
make
mean,
it.
that shouldn't cost nothing, should it?
Not much, I wouldn't think. Well, it all depends on who you hire to do
It'd
it.
take some time to work on it, but I don't think it.
But
takes
that
30
thing was
hours a week.
$30,000 or something, wasn't it, that last
Well,
one?
we can't get a number out of him. I mean, we tried to get a number and there's absolutely, he
Well, he's gonna
didn't
give
even
us
tell us how much he was making, but it wasn't enough.
Well, I emailed Joe Lees. I'll get in contact with him and find out what we
Paul,
need to
who's
do.
that?
Joe Lees. Out of,
Is he head of the DES?
he's our regional director.
Can I just, since you were talking about hazard mitigation, may I address that?
I'm fine, Derek. I don't need anything from you. You've given me so much now that I don't understand. I don't need any more confusion. Thank you.
March 20th, we paid $1,628.76 to Heartland.
Yeah.
That's what I show.
No, I wasn't so concerned that we didn't have the figure. What I was concerned about was he was telling us he wasn't making enough money, but didn't know how much money he wasn't making.
I'll talk with Joe and see what we need to do to get
$38
compliance.
to $57 an hour, depending if he works 5 or 8 hours a week.
I mean, when we got something in front of us, we can make a decision. We don't have anything in front of us.
No, he's gonna get it. That's fine.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
No.
Sales ratio study.
If you guys see, there's 2 proposals in front of you for some outside contractors to come in and help us with the sales ratio study. These were a few people that when I contacted NDACO, they gave me some names and I got some other names and we got some, so.
That's who I went out and talked to on the phone while you guys were talking to Derek. I talked to this Nexus group. Because when I read that proposal, it gave, the number of tasks and the cost estimate, and then at the end it said it'll go up by the amount in the schedule on the back page if it goes over a certain number of hours or whatever. So I called them and asked them if those tasks, if they take less time, if those can go down, and she said, yeah, that they can. I said, well, I didn't in there like that. And then the other thing I asked her was if we could review and approve the sales ratio study, because I wanna see what sales have been called usable and what have not been. And she said, you can obviously review it, but I can't change it because I have to follow the state's rules, which I suppose I get that, but
How do we use the sales ratio study to conduct in our business?
I don't know. I'm not the tax director. All I know is we're required to produce one for the state.
And then we're running up against some other deadlines where it's like the abatements need to be filed and stuff, and I know that I can't file my stuff until those things have been filed. It's kind of a series of steps.
Jennifer sent the letters out for the tax credit stuff, or but I don't suppose anybody had sent out any letters for abatements.
So this one outfit estimates 9,700 and this other one's 11,000.
That's just for the sales ratio study.
12,100.
So we're assuming that the tax director is responsible for the sales ratio study and all the other things that are demanded by the state? Is that by administrative code or is that in the century code? Because it certainly isn't in the duties of in the century code under tax director.
I have no idea.
I would maybe guess that 1110.105, that would be part of subsection 1 under actually the last part of it, to promote uniform assessment of all real property in the county.
Assessment is yeah, but the assessment is supposed to be done by the assessors. I mean, I've looked and looked and looked, because we've had this talk many times as far as who's responsible for providing these reports. And I've asked a lot of people to show me somewhere in the administrative code or somewhere where it specifically states that it's required of the tax director or required by anybody in the county, and I can't find it. No one showed it to me.
Call out there.
They won't talk to me.
They will too.
Well, maybe they will. They at times they haven't talked to me. So it's been a while since. Maybe the band has run out.
At the tax department?
Yeah. Ron and I weren't on the Christmas list for quite a while there.
Right, but this is a pretty simple question.
A lot of them were simple questions, and that's the problem. A lot of the simple questions don't have an answer. It's, well, because we said so. Well, show me where it's written. And again, we shouldn't be complying with something that isn't directly written down and so we can see why we're complied to do that. Well, what complies us to do that?
Right, no, they're not the legislature.
So we're trying our best to hire a tax equalization director to satisfy a requirement that I can't find the tax equalization director is responsible for complying with. No, I'm not a lawyer, don't know. Do you know?
No, but I can do some research and find out.
I mean, we're still trying to hire a tax equalization director, and I assume the reason we're hiring it for is for the duties laid out in the century code, which have nothing to do with complying the sales ratio study.
I get that. But maybe someplace it says the county shall provide a sales ratio study.
Maybe it does.
And they just always landed on the tax director's desk.
That's correct. It very well might.
But somebody should be able to answer that question. The North Dakota Association of Counties.
I could contact the lady that's been contacting me at the tax department.
I'll do some research.
But I mean, with this whole virus thing and everything else, we're trying to hire somebody within the limits of our budget. And the century code clearly states that it can be part-time and we get to set the dollar value for the budget for the tax director.
Right.
Well, do we have, I mean, so we haven't found anybody yet, unusual circumstances. I don't think we have the power of conscription. I don't think we can go out in the street and say, all right, you're the tax director. What are we to do? There, that's what we're to do. And so, we don't need it for our equalization. For our process going forward, for equalization and everything else, we don't look at those documents. We're gonna do our job. It appears like the job that we're trying to, and we are trying to comply with, is that of the state. The state should be more helpful in trying to help us comply with something they need.
Okay, it's under 5701, subsection 5 to subsection 7, and I haven't looked at it. I'm just reading through it now.
What was that again, Jimmy? 5701 subject?
Or it's 570105 to 570107. According to the 2016 North Dakota Assessment Sales Ratio Study, this states that the study is prepared to assist local assessment officials and to recommend to the tax commissioner changes to be made by the State Board of Equalization in the performance of their equalization duties.
You're looking at 570106.1, right? That's what you read.
57. Let's see here. Yeah, well, that I was actually reading out of a 2016 manual, sales ratio manual.
Mm-hmm. So it is the intent of the Legislative Assembly, the local assessors, county directors of tax equalization, and city, township, and county and state boards of equalization use the results of the sales market and productivity studies as a guide in making assessments and in equalizing assessments of property in the state. The Legislative Assembly recognizes that sales of property alone provide insufficient information to make accurate judgments concerning the market value of property within the various counties of the state, particularly in view of the limited number of sales which occur when a given period over any given period of time in many counties, and that in order to get accurate picture of market value, consideration must be given to such factors as property, appraisals, productivity, and current usage of property. Which basically says that the sales study
It's
is
just a tool.
just
for
a
the
tool, and it
assessors.
doesn't say must. I mean, I've read that so damn many times, and I keep asking the questions, and no one ever answers them. They just say, well, you have to do it.
Why?
Well, if you look back at the history of Griggs County, back when we didn't have tax directors that did their job correctly, there was years where we never turned into sales ratio study. And all the state does would do use the one from the year prior and the year prior and the year prior. We're trying to do this, but we don't have the people, someone to do it. And they can't make us go broke, or make the citizens of Griggs County go broke paying for services that are far above what it would cost us if we could hire someone to do it. And they can load up their caravan. I'll rent the Pizza Hut this time. They should come and help us, not try to beat us over the head.
Just say, you have to. You have to.
Maybe they have the power to beat us over the head, I don't know, but they should be helpful, not punitive here.
It says the state supervisor of assessments may make sales, market, and productivity studies and other studies of property assessments in the counties and cities of this state
Yep.
to properly advise the assessors and directors of tax equalization in the state and to recommend to the tax commissioner changes to be made by the State Board of Equalization in the performance of its equalization duties. All it says is this county needs to provide them with the sales, not a sales ratio study.
I know, and again, they're trying to make us do the job of the state assessor. That's always been my argument with them. We have the sales, we've got the sales in Kelly's office. We have all that.
They have access to our sales on Endron. We provided it to them already, as far as I can tell.
There was tax equalization, there was assessment, all this was done before there was ever a tax director. All this was still done at the county level with the officers we had before.
So do you guys want to hire somebody to do a sales ratio study, or do you want to ask more questions?
More questions. It's a lot of money.
Okay. Standing committee, did you read that letter?
Ooh.
The commissioner from Dunn County was pretty sure that you should belong to the National
National.
Association of Counties, John. You're not doing your part.
Well, we do belong, they keep paying our dues for us. So let's send them a letter thanking them and continue on.
Veterans tax credit, we have ourselves an abatement. No.
You skipped over the standing committee. You just
The
did the
what?
Dunn County Commissioner letter.
Yeah, they want people to,
Oh,
they want nominations.
they want volunteers
Yeah.
to be on those
Done
standing
here.
committees. So if you guys have an inclination to go further up the political ladder, you might want to volunteer your time.
Call 328-7306.
Correct. I'm as far up the political ladder as I want to be, so
Now, if they want me to lecture to them, they can call me.
I think you should be on some of that stuff.
This is as high as they ascend, and most people said it was too far already, so.
Well, apparently somebody thinks it's too far for Troy Boy.
It's a system we live under.
It's a good one, too. Veterans tax credit. Now, these are different than the other ones. We don't have to, doesn't need to be a local person approve them. It just goes right to the commission. I always forget how these.
This was taken to the Mabel Township, and they,
Oh,
yeah, it was on the back side of that, and I didn't see that it was a two-sided one.
Oh, I don't
So-
have it all.
No, I
Oh,
have it.
I was
Sorry.
looking for that signature line.
Sorry.
So it's on there.
It is. Yep, we got it.
Okay, so this thing's
Um,
been approved by Mabel already?
Um, okay, yep. They said they want you to give the abatement for the balance of the veterans credit not given on 2019 taxes.
Okay.
Yep. I saw not given and I was like, okay, wait a minute. So, nope.
Motion to that effect? Moved by Dale to approve the abatement that's been presented today by Mabel Township. Is there a second?
Second.
No? What? Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I don't think Maple Township gave this to us.
She didn't give you the backside of that sheet. We just
Oh.
had that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's a backside.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Yeah, no, there is a backside.
You weren't listening.
Hardly ever am. All right. I'll second that.
It's already seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
Okay, can I have you sign the back of that, please?
Do you have a pet? Do you have a little kitten?
It's official.
Thank you.
New courthouse, old courthouse? Have we heard anything from NDSU?
I can reach back out to them again.
Future business? Can the county commission declare the COVID emergency over in Griggs County?
Actually, that's probably a good thing to bring up. There's other courthouses that are opening. Ramsey County's opening up the 15th. Nelson County's opening up the 15th. There's some other courthouses that are open. So I would say if you guys want to open up, choose a date to open.
We already decided it was kind of up to the county officials.
I thought we had to wait until Joe Biden came over this world and saw if he saw his shadow or not.
What we were kind of waiting for is the election on Tuesday to be over so that we're not confusing voters, that the doors are locked and unlocked
Right.
and whatever. So that's kind of what a lot of the counties were going to be waiting for.
So like on Wednesday, you're just gonna leave
That's
the door unlocked?
That's kind of what I was thinking, but we haven't talked to all the department heads
Sounds
yet.
good.
I'm good with that.
Anything else?
Is the bank open yet?
Well, Citizens is open, Bank Forward's open, we're open. You know, I don't know if they've opened Tolna yet. I don't know. I guess Bob was at our, in Mattville last Monday, and I said, you know what, Bob, we're tired of this. Can I go turn the key in the door? And I did. But
I don't know if the code is or not. I have no idea.
I think we kind of escaped it. I hope we did anyway. There was one case in Griggs County and that was no illness involved with it, it was just tested positive.
I think so, yeah.
So,
I assume the nursing home isn't open or anything like that.
no,
No.
I stopped and talked to Faye Vegasaw today. She had some questions, real estate stuff, and she's just frustrated. Can't even go see. She said Everett's doing really good.
Yeah.
I can't even go in there.
But I mean,
She said, I'm tired. There's going to be pretty soon. There's going to be an argument because this is going to happen. It needs to.
but I mean, as much as it was overblown for the average population,
It probably wasn't overblown for the nursing homes and things like that. It seemed to run pretty rampant through some of those.
Well, and who knows if it
What's-
was overblown or not, because that was That was the object of what happened, so.
No, but they knew everybody was gonna get it sooner or later, they were trying to slow it down.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be so non-lethal, particularly for anybody under 60 years old, that it never would have overwhelmed the hospitals. They never used any of the overflow beds. They didn't need the respirators they built.
Well, it was non-lethal for most of the population. It was terribly lethal for a small percentage that was at risk.
Already sick or
Yeah,
over
yeah.
90 years old. But it's no different than any coronavirus, any spring or fall that we ever have.
No, I know that.
The same people are vulnerable to it. This one wasn't any deadlier than those are.
No.
Much, actually less deadly, because the young were spared.
Yeah, no doubt, but the fear factor is what overwhelmed everybody, and
Well,
shame on our government for doing that. But that's, whether there's a risk or not, if you feel there's risk, it still does the same thing to you.
Dr.
And it's
Fauci and
scared-
Ryan Rauschenberger should be standing in the same unemployment line.
It scared some people to death, and it still scares them to death, and you can't take that fear away if they actually believe that's what happened.
I know.
If that's what's going to happen.
It's a crying
And
shame.
It is a crying shame. No doubt there's some people are at risk and we have to protect them, but for the most part, you're at more risk by being locked up, I think. Certainly overall. Look at the people that haven't been cancer testing and heart and all the other
Mammograms.
illnesses. I mean,
It has been quite criminally though. It's been kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. The criminals actually, they stayed in. There was like a 3-week stretch. I don't know what happened. There's we had like 2 cases over a 3-week stretch between both counties. It was kind of nice.
Maybe they knew everybody was home and they had firearms.
I heard domestic violence is up though.
No, not around here.
Oh.
are you
Not
sure
that we
it's
had-
the criminals that stayed in or the people
Well,
chasing the criminals stayed in?
Regardless, it was kind of nice and quiet for a while.
Anything else for the good of the order?
Motion to adjourn.
Been moved to adjourn by Dale, seconded by Sean.
Right, I think
All in
they
favor,
would-
say aye.
People stayed in.
Close
Cars
same
are
sign.
closed, so.
Meeting adjourned at 4:25 PM.
So there was no
Next regular
incentive,
meeting
you know,
Friday,
that
June
broke up.
19th at 2:30 PM in this room, sitting closer together.